Alright, now let's talk about XML files in PowerShell. So what is XML? It stands for Extensible Markup Language and used for storing as well as transportation of data. So it's quite similar to JSON, but we use XML as well to store and transfer some data. So how we can use XML files in PowerShell? That is what we are going to be covering in this section. So let's just jump in. The first thing as we need to do is let's create an XML file. So let's see how we can do that in PowerShell. So we are going to be creating XML file and let's do it. So we will create a variable, let's say XML writer, and we will call the .NET class or subclass, and they have by default they have the methods to create XML files. So the way we do that is system.xml.xml writer, and now we will call the create method, and for the first parameter is the file name. So let's say data.xml. Usually we will use the XML files in PowerShell to store our data. So now the file name is data.xml, and here we can close this, but we will pass the second parameter, so some settings, so like the indent and data types and the headers and stuff like that. So the way we do that is let's create a settings variable or XML settings, and we have the same thing for this. Like we will call the .NET framework class, and we will create a new object of that. So let's remove this. That is new object, and the object is of class system.xml settings, XML writer settings, and now here we can set the attributes. So if I do that indent, let's set this to true. This will set the indentation to true, and then we have the indent char, and we will set that to space. So now we will pass these settings as a second parameter to the create method. So XML settings. Now we are good to go. So now we can like add our steps to this XML file. This will create our XML. So the way we start XML files is we will start the document, and then we will add the root element, and inside the root element we will add our data. And let's say we will be storing data about persons or students or employees and stuff like that. So what I have to do is like start the XML or write data to it. And the first thing is, in any programming language, like in Bash we have the shebang, in Python we have the header. The first way that we include in HTML we have the doc type, and the same thing for XML we have like a header. So the way we do that is XML writer and then start document. So now if I save this, this will start the document. Now we have to end the document as well. So what I will do is this is right, so write start document and write end document, and then we will close the XML. So $xml dot close, XML writer dot close. So this is the class that we the object that we created, so call the close method. Now let's see if we have any error. This will just write a empty document with the header included. So if I come to the terminal, here we have the script. So if I execute this, we have error that is token in document instead. So that is in document has error. The error says the invalid invalid XML document. So let's add a root element. So the way we add elements to the XML is we will use the XML writer, that is the main object, and then write start element, and here we will pass the element name. So let's say root, and then we will end this element. So let's say write end element. So now if I save this, come here to the terminal, and we have write end element has an error. We do not have any argument here, so I will remove the argument, and if I do this, Again we got an error. So we did created the XML document, but it has error, so I will remove that file. Actually we forgot to end this, so now write start element and then the element name and then write int element to end up that element. Also we can intend that so that we can see like this is our indentation of the elements. So now if I come here and execute, there is no error now. So if I check the XML, that is our XML file. Now let's add some data. So let's say in XML, if you haven't seen that, it's like the tree of data. So now we will create another custom, or we can create our custom tags, and inside that we will store our data. So let's say I'm creating an element that is students, and here we will end of um, that element. And now let's say student has some attributes. Let's say student has name, so now write start element, let's say name, and then as a second parameter I will pass the value of the name. So let's say Tauseed, and it has ID and it's integer, so I will remove the quotes, let's say 1, and it has age, so let's say age is also integer, let's say 56. Now I will save this, and we have to end the element that we started, that is students. So I will copy in, yeah, we have that right here. So I will remove the XML, come here and execute again, and let's see. As you can see, now we have the ID, and we have some error here, like the ID is a parent element of the age, so we have trouble here. Yeah, so the way we create data element in our XML is write start string, and we will do the same for the ID as well as the age, and we will pass we will set the ID to a top. Now if I save this, come here and execute, we have errors, right? String, oh actually that is right, element string. Let's control D, and now remove this, right element string, execute, and check out the XML file. Now we have the tree of data, so now we can duplicate this, like we can add the data like this. Student can have memory cards, so students or the objects